Okay, in this lesson, we will be finding the area of a parallelogram. Area of a parallelogram. And just a reminder, parallelogram is a four-sided polygon where the opposite sides are parallel. So if you extend, let me use different colors. So if you extend this red side this way and the opposite side this way, the red sides are never going to touch each other. And same with this side here, the blue side. If you extend the blue side here, and if you extend the blue side here, they're never going to touch each other. So that's what a parallelogram is. And actually a rectangle is also a type of parallelogram, because in a rectangle, the blue sides are not going to touch each other, even if you extend them this way, and the red sides are not going to touch each other. Okay, so that's what a parallelogram is. And we want to find the area of a parallelogram here. So if you remember from a rectangle, how do you find the area of a rectangle? Well, on a rectangle, this was the length, and this was the width. And to find the area of a rectangle, you just multiply the length times the width. Just do that times that, times width. And a parallelogram would be similar to that, except for the rectangle, this worked because the length and the width were at right angles with each other. This was at a right angle. However, for a parallelogram, if we're looking at the length here and the width here, the angle between the length and the width is not 90 degrees. And to find the area, you need to multiply two sides that are at 90 degrees with each other. So when you're finding the area of a parallelogram, you actually need to know this side here that is perpendicular to the length. Okay, so you can't use the width. You can't use the width for the area of a parallelogram. You have to use this, which we can call the height. And usually when we say height, instead of saying length, we usually call it base. So to find the area of a parallelogram, you'll need to multiply the base times the height. And let's see if that actually solves our problem. So let's do our work down here. If we multiply, let's say this is 10 meters. And then let's say that our height here is 7 meters. Let's say we multiply this times this. Well, looking back at a rectangle, when you multiply the base or the length times the width, that covers the area that is enclosed by these sides. So it covers this area here. So that's why you multiplied length times width when you wanted to find the area of a rectangle. Well, when we multiply the base and the height here in the parallelogram, it's going to cover the rectangular shape that's enclosed by these two sides. So it's going to cover, imagine that there's a invisible rectangle right here. So the side where this would be the length and this would be, that should be an L, and this is the width. Okay, so it's going to cover this this portion right here when we multiply the base times the height. But that doesn't quite line up with our parallelogram. It's actually covering this space here that's not part of the parallelogram. And it's actually not covering this space here that is part of the parallelogram. So you're wondering, is this the right way to go to find the area of a parallelogram? And it turns out yes, because the extra sides that we've added here, when we multiply the base times the height, turns out to be exactly the same as the side that we didn't calculate here. So we didn't count this side here, but it's been counted for when we've multiplied over onto this side. So just to picture that a little differently, let's say if I have a parallelogram, like this, and if I cut this side here and I move this side over here. Okay, so now our parallelogram became like, so let me actually color this part as blue. Okay, so I'm moving this blue part over to the other side. And what you get is this shape here. We've moved the blue side over here. And this actually turns out to be a rectangle. This shape right here is a rectangle. So to find the area, you need to just multiply this side, which is the base, this side, and this side, which is the height. So the formula for the area of a parallelogram would be the base times the height. But you need to be careful in knowing what the base and the height is. The height, or the base, let me actually scoot my board over to this side. Given a parallelogram, this side, the blue side, this side would be the base. The height is the side that is perpendicular to the base. So it's the line that is perpendicular to the base, and it goes all the way up the parallelogram. It is not this side. This is not the height. Okay, this is not the height. So that's where you need to be careful with a parallelogram. You need to make sure that you're multiplying this, the base, times the height. So that's different from the perimeter of a parallelogram. When you're finding the perimeter, you're actually using the width, right? And this time we call it length and width here. You actually use this side and this side for the perimeter when you're finding the perimeter, but you don't use this side when you're finding the area. You're using this side here. Okay, so remember that for a parallelogram, you need to multiply the two sides that are perpendicular to each other. So let me actually give you an example for those of you who are confused. We have a parallelogram here, and this side is 10 centimeters, this side is 5 centimeters, and this side would be 4 centimeters. What would be the perimeter and the area of this parallelogram? Well, for the perimeter, we're adding up all the sides. So we're using the outside length of this shape. Okay, so that's 5 plus 10 plus this side here, which is the same as this side, so that's also 5. So plus 5. And then you're adding this part, plus 10. And that is going to equal 30 centimeters. So that's our perimeter. For the perimeter, you add up all the outside lengths. Now for the area, it's a little bit different. You have to use, I forgot to notate that this is 90 degrees. Okay, so for the area, you need to multiply the two sides that are perpendicular. So the base here, which is 10, times the height. Okay, we're not using this width here. We're multiplying the height, which is 4. Okay, so that would be 40 centimeter squared. Okay, so that's how you find the perimeter and the area of a parallelogram.